Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reading some of my old childhood writing. Now, I haven't been able to recover pieces from when I was 7 through 9, mainly because they were handwritten, A, or B, they were fan fiction, and since the fan fiction is very dear to my brother, I have decided not to share that. So we're going to be looking at some of my original works, and I've printed out a chapter of several of my original works for you guys to kind of read along and laugh with me. So this first piece is called The Kingdom of Mysteries Beyond the Mystic Mirror. It is a piece that I tried to take from my fan fiction and change it into a real original novel. It didn't get that far though, because the writing style I just didn't feel like was up to par, mainly because the original fan fiction had some inside jokes that were so funny that it didn't really translate well to the printed page. So basically it's about these 4 kids. They go beyond the mirror. You figure out that 2 of the girls actually belong there, and chaos ensues. So this chapter is called Michelle and the Misunderstood Hero. It's chapter 4 from that story, and I purposely picked this one because it has an Ambered incarnation whose name is Xander. And Xander's arc is nothing like Amber's arc. But you can see parallels between the characters, and it is so funny. It's so funny. Okay. If I'm remembering it right. Let's see how this goes. Michelle was then brought into a black castle that appeared to be so dark that no light could get through except purple fire. What a way to start the chapter, huh? She was brought to a courtroom by the black figure in the hood. Black hooded figure is what I would put now. The throne was black, and on it sat a woman. She had cat-like yellow eyes and raven hair which possessed purple streaks running through the short updo that appeared to look like a tragic mess thrown into her hair. She wore a black dress that was torn here and there, and she wore on her head a silver crown with dark purple gems. Her pale skin made her look cruel and unforgiving, like she seemed to appear. I'm just looking at this description and I'm just like, oh dear. Current me is just like, past me. Why did you write this like that? I'm not done yet though. We're gonna read this entire thing. It's 8 pages, or at least parts of it. She appeared to have dark circles over her eyes, not under her eyes, over her eyes. And her cheek and jawbones were easily shown. Michelle was laid down at her feet. Who were these people? Well done. Well, comma, done, comma. Count Tickings, you have done well. First of all, Count Tickings? What kind of fantasy novel is this? Okay. I see you have gotten another blue-eyed girl who could be the next queen as well as my undoing. What a thing to say in front of your captive. Okay, where did you find her? The woman spoke. In the woods, Queen Sinister, Count Ticking said. She looked at Michelle curiously. She seemed to observe her beautiful blue eyes, which appeared to pierce her from the inside. Michelle just stood there looking, but somehow she was not afraid of her. The mystery that the queen had instead fascinated Michelle. What is your name, girl? The queen asked. My name is Michelle, she said back to the queen. Then, Michelle, do you know why you're here? Oh, I apologize. Do you know why you are here? No, I do not. This is my first time in your kingdom. You wouldn't be mistaken. No one comes here more than once. So they lock her up. Count Hickings is not, it's Xander, and he doesn't appear until page 29, which is this page. Then a boy who appeared to be 18 years old. Yeah, that's the first sentence. He had brown, light brown hair and hazel eyes. Brown, light brown hair. He was much taller than Michelle, and something about him made Michelle feel like she could trust him. Maybe it was the smile on his face. How could he be so happy when they were both in jail? Who are you, I might ask, comma. Michelle asked politely. Xander Longington. I have a sister, Arrow, and my stepbrothers, Edwin and Edward. Why would you say that immediately after meeting someone? Where am I? Michelle asked while thinking, oh my, he is so cute. They have literally just met. In Wildflower. This is the part where Queen Sinister lives. No kidding. And then she talks about being dropped in the magic mirror, and they talk to each other about that. And then apparently she's the future heir. Then we have info dumping. Your mother was Queen Vivian, and she was a humble queen. I worked by her side since 2 years old. A 2-year-old. My sister told me that one day she had 2 twin daughters. According to my sister, they grew so close together that she had to give up both of them in the orphanage through the mirror. That was the day Queen Sinister took over the kingdom and killed the queen. Before she was killed, Queen Vivian prophesied that her blue-eyed daughter would come back and conquer Sinister to make a permanent new kingdom with her as the Queen of Wildflower. And then they talk a little bit about his younger brother, which is super interesting. And he apparently protects the Shields with a castle. And then there's this girl named Veronica. It's a very interesting thing. And then Xander lets out Michelle, but he refuses to go with them. And then the shields turn off at the end of the chapter, and you question, what happened to him? His entire arc is very different than Ambert's I Haven't Become a Fallen Hero, but this chapter doesn't set it up well at all. You never see him again until like 20 chapters later, and you find out that he's gone bad, and it's just like it's the craziest thing. But I still cannot imagine that I wrote that with Queen Sinister. That huge description, circles over her eyes. All right, so let's move on to the next one. This next one is kind of special. My parents wanted to publish this, as in my dad, because it was a historical fiction, and apparently that is way better than me publishing dystopian fantasy. So, this was written when I was 13. So this is like 2013, 7th grade, when I was taking American history. And it is Revolutionary War piece about 2 sisters. First off, this is the cover art. Isn't it wonderful? It's an American flag I drew. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit of this one too. Her older brother Charles bursted into the room. Have you heard the news? Charles asked. Yes, Mary said. Even if you did, I was there. I heard the shot, but I never saw who did it, he exclaimed proudly. His brown eyes on his stolidly-looking face were firm. Stolidly? Okay. Charles was in the army with her father. He was one of the Minutemen fighting this war that had seemed just to happen upon the 13 colonies. Charles, tell me what you know about last night, Mary said as she took out a quill and paper. Her 14-year-old brother grinned. Okay, this is what I know. Some Boston patriots found out that the British were after the leaders. Then I know Paul Revere and William Dawes and I forgot the other guy's name for this moment, but I do know they all shouted, the British are coming, to warn us. They sure put us on our feet, and Charles began to say. Mary was busy writing a story on last night's events. This is sure to impress Mr. Jollies, Mary thought as she wrote. A Stopped Attack, April 19th, 1775, by Mary Peters. Have you heard the news? Some patriots from Boston found out the British plans to march on Lexington and Concord, the reason to capture our leaders and take our gunpowder. They soon lit the church lanterns, and Paul Revere jumped to his horse and rode off into the night. He soon met up with another man named William Dawes, and another named Dr. Samuel Prescott, who heard of their plan and decided to join them. Together, people could hear them in the streets saying, "The British are coming," to warn the Minutemen to be ready. When the British arrived, someone fired and put us in a terrible war with Britain. One of the Minutemen said to me, "Did you hear the news? I heard the shot, but I did not see who did it." That account was from Charles Peters, a fighter and my brother. Then Mary's 16-year-old sister, Martha, walked into the room. She then said, "What's your story about?" Mary then replied, "I won't tell unless you tell yours," she answered. "All right. My story is about my basic opinion on what happened last night and my opinion on the colonist," Martha shouted. She handed her freshly written paper to Mary so she could read it. Colonists and Madness, April 19th, 1775, by Martha Peters. The true news is what happened from the British perspective. The colonists must have sent Boston spies and lit the lights. Then Paul Revere, colonist tinsmith, went and stopped the British from making sure no one gets hurt. Then someone fired at one of the soldiers. I beg you, dear fellow citizens, do not start a war. You will be fighting a war that there is no reason to have. You will be fighting a war that there is no reason to have. It's repeated twice. If we'd obey the law, we wouldn't be in this mess. In my opinion, colonists are mad. If they will not get peace with Britain, I will join Britain myself. And so will others. Colonists are mad. This is the outcome. Colonists are mad. If you don't believe me, I'll give you 2 reasons. 1, they've started a war with England. 2, they shoot guns and kill. Why do you think the colonists are those things? Mary asked. Yeah, Martha the Loyalist, Charles exclaimed. She was starting to look mad. Colonists are 3 words. Disloyal, mad, and stubborn, Mary said proudly. That's 4 words, Charles exclaimed. Also all wrong, Mary shouted. Martha was angry, just like a teapot boiling over. Martha stomped her foot in rage. Mary just stared at her big sister, watching and waiting for the family loyalist's next move. For Mary remembered what happened last time, and Martha got into serious trouble. Mary looked at her older brother Charles, who was staring back and forth at both of his sisters. He didn't want Mary to get hurt. There's a lot of run-on sentences. Most of Mary's reasons, her mother and father believed, because the reasons were that Martha got angry when she told her opinion of the British. The entire Peters family were colonists except for Martha. Charles and Marty even thought she woke up on the wrong side of opinion one day. None of the family knew the real reason except Martha, so that opinion is just the only thing they could come up with. They pleaded with Martha to tell the real reason, but she never would. So the real reason is a mystery, hidden in Martha, waiting to be heard. Yeah, she goes on to saying how it offends her. Martha has a boyfriend. That's the real reason why. It's a very interesting thing to see. So yeah, those are 2 pieces of my early writing. I can do some early breaking order writing another day because I definitely have more things to see that. But those are 2 of the earliest pieces of writing that I had. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And if you haven't pre-ordered Breaking Order or any merchandise, you are welcome to. I'll link them in the description below. Until next time, dreamers. Bye.